focusing on money, which I know, Grant, that's a particular topic you love. What would be your best advice to people out there, whether they're entrepreneurs, whether they have a sales team, they're building an organization? What would you say is the best advice that you could give other people from what you learned about making their first $1 million bucks? So say somebody's making six figures, scaling up, and that's
just
the goal.
do the math. You know, what's first of all, do you want to make $1 million or do you want to keep $1 million? They're like 60% difference between those two questions.
Right, so specificity in the goal.
Do you want to make? Everybody watching is going to make $1 million. I mean, if you live 25 years, you're going to make $1 million. 25 times 40,000 bucks, bang, you made $1 million. If that's your goal. So this is what I talked about in the 10X rule. The goals people are setting are incorrect. And that's why people give up on their goals. Because I know so many guys that hit $1 million. Like I've had so many people come to me and say, I hit $1 million and I lost the juice.
Yeah, it got comfortable almost, yeah.
A lot of guys in network marketing tell me this. Like I was in network marketing, I became $1 million producer, just lost it because the goal was wrong. The goal was wrong. First of all, it wasn't your goal. Like, anybody that's got $1 million target, it's not your goal. You adopted this goal, this idea from somebody else. Because any number that ends in zero is a lazy number. The chances of number ending in zero is almost mathematically
What a great
impossible.
point. What a great point.
So it's a lazy concept. You just adopted somebody else's idea. I want to be a millionaire. Have you even done the math? Do the math on $1 million. It's no money. This is what people like. They God hate Grant because your target was $1 million. You're struggling making 200. You think $1 million's impossible. You don't want me to tell you the truth. And the truth is, it is no money. As soon as you get it, I read the book, The Millionaire Next Door. Almost everybody read that book back in the 90s. It was the best book for me because it taught me I don't want to be a millionaire. It lifted the lid. I'm like, I don't want to be the guy buying a Ford truck. I don't want a Ford truck, man. Right? I got to buy a Ford truck, a used Ford truck, F-150. So one day I could be a millionaire.
Yeah.
And I can't go get coffee. I need to bring a brown bag to my office every day, not drink coffee at the shop in order to be a millionaire. Well, the reason I knew that was not good for me was because my dad died at 52 with a little bit of money. And I'm like, I don't want to die with money when I'm old. I want to have enough money. And that undid everything for me. I want financial freedom. I don't want to hit a quota. You know, and I think everybody's struggling for the quota. They're struggling for the bills. They set their financial plan based on what their spending is or what their apartment costs or what the mortgage is, or what their kids need, rather than I want freedom. I don't want financial literacy. I want financial freedom. You know, so I hear people say, oh, we need to teach financial literacy. No, you need to teach financial freedom, the possibility of it. What would I need? How much? You know, this whole cash flow thing that I talk about all the time. Cash flow is the holy grail of finance. That's why his business works. That's why he's able to enjoy the lifestyle he has. He has financial freedom, not a money number.
So it's not income, it's more cash flow that's focused.
Well, it's income in the beginning.
Yeah.
Income
To set it up.
People need to work. First, I would tell people, look, you need to get some financial literacy. What does that even mean? 2, focus on income. I don't abandon income flows. I'm still doing what I was doing 30 years ago. Like nobody works harder for $15 than Grant Cardone. Okay. So, you know, I'll push for a $15 product because that's income and it's a score. It's a little tiny score.
And it's a habit. It's almost a muscle, right?
Oh, it's definitely a muscle for me because I respect money.
Right.
So it could be $1, it could be $1.99, it could be $3. My kid worked you for $100, you know, was struggling with you for $5. I said, hey, just up the ante, babe, you know? And so, you know, these are things that are a bit, they're like even you said, like, hey, Grant, you're known to talk about money a lot. You want to talk about money a lot. This Lee guy says to me, man, you like money more than relationships. I like relationships that help me produce freedom so I can take care of my charity and my church and I can take care of mankind and I can create a legacy and I can have enough money that I'm not so worried about my 24 inches. Not his 24 inches, but my 24 inches, which covers my entire, like this proximity. You know, I remember when I couldn't even handle this.
Right.
The 24-inch neighborhood I had, my little Grant Cardone zip code, I couldn't even handle that. So I had to handle that first. And income takes care of that. And then it's like, but I need some bigger goals that allow me to if I'm an introvert, extrovert enough to go get my freedom. So I can take care of my mom, and I can take care, so my kids maybe don't have to have the same worries and concerns that I did. Like Scarlett said, does she have to go to college? I said, baby, you don't have to go to college. You need financial freedom is what you need.
Yeah.
So you can go anywhere you want.
Makes sense. How about you, Ed? Best advice to your first $1 million for people out there?
Well, I think he gave you great advice right there. I think that, listen, people do two things, I think, incorrectly. Number one is most people don't have any goals. They have goals. They don't have obsessions. Both of us, before we even met, both were constantly discussing about your obsessions become your possessions, right? Like most people don't ever get obsessed about anything other than their problems or their worries. Forget money just for a second. They're just not obsessed with something that would fulfill them, right? So that's number one. And then number two, they set them so small once they set them. They shortchange themselves, and that's linked to their identity. So your goals are always linked to your identity. If you see yourself at a certain level, you think you're only worth a certain amount, you set goals at $1 million. And even if your goals aren't money,
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Listen, there are people listening to this who are not wired. It's okay if you were watching this and say, my goals aren't financial. I'll accept that for a second. What I don't accept is when people tell me that, but it's not replaced with another obsession that would fulfill them. If it's, I want to have 1 million children get educated, or I want to feed 1 million people, or I want to start a charity that does XYZ for homeless women.
All those things will take money.
Those things do take money. Well, or the raising of money, right, from someone else. And so I find it that people either aren't clear on what their obsessions are, or when they get them, they're just some arbitrary thing they've set low that they think everybody else would think is a big deal. And so we were just off camera right before we went live, and we were both saying to each other, which is just, probably only say to each other, is we both really feel like we're behind. We really feel uncomfortable with where we are, because what we want to achieve, when I've done my show, the number one thing that surprised me, Omar, is in my podcast, in my show, is when I interview people, some say it on camera, but almost all of them say it off camera. And that is that, honestly, this is something people would be shocked by. The mega achievers that I have on my show struggle with what I would even call borderline depression. This is a secret that most people won't tell you, right?
I've seen it on my show as well, yeah.
And okay, so you understand
they're
this.
not fulfilled, they're not happy. They made the money, but they don't have a momentum.
I think there's an element of that.
Right.
And I think there's another element that people that are mega achievers have such gigantic standards and outcomes for themselves that they're never quite meeting them. And I kind of like that. I kind of think that having some discomfort with where you are, everyone thinks, I think everyone's fantasy is, I want to get somewhere where I don't want something anymore. Listen to me on this. I think a lot of people think, if I could just get somewhere where I no longer feel uncomfortable, where I no longer want something I don't have, where I'm no longer seeking something. What they're really saying is, I'd like to get somewhere where I no longer will grow again, right? I don't want that. I always want to be in a state of discomfort, a state of growth, a state of contribution. And so you better be careful that whatever you set, that as you're approximating it, as you're getting closer, that the next one's thrown out there, the next one's thrown out there. We spent the better part of the last 2 hours, both of us, we're playing cards. What do you want, man? What makes you happy?
He was beating me at cards.
I took literally all his money tonight, as a matter of fact, right? Well, all the money that was on the table. But the point I think I would make to you is that your obsessions are what you're going to get. So be very careful what you choose, make them big, and make sure that there's something that, at least at this stage of where you are in your current level of awareness, you believe truly would make you happy, truly would make you fulfilled. And be very careful when you set them. And so if that's $1 million, great. Like, we're both at a point now where, and we don't mean it in a condescending way whatsoever. I know that $1 million is not a lot of money in this world.
Right.
Maybe it was a lot of money in 1940, but it's not anymore. People that make 6 figures, and bless their heart, there are still people walking around that have deluded themselves into comfort and thinking, I'm successful because I make 6 figures. 6 figures was a lot of money in 1965, man.
Right.
This is 2018, 2019, when some people will watch this. That's not a lot of money now. And really, neither is 7 figures in income anymore, right? And so it's just a matter of you getting aware of what your capacity is. And the more you're aware of how spectacular you're wired, the less you'd shortchange yourself with really small goals.
And just this depression thing. This is a topic that interests me so much.
Have you ever dealt with it at all, Grant?
Totally.
Okay.
Almost my whole life.
Still? A little bit?
No, well, what happens is, socially, we say it's depression. But what if it wasn't depression and it was just truth? That I'm having to sleep with my own truth, that I can do more, right? So why wouldn't I be a bit depressed. If I have this potential and I'm operating here, every individual knows what they're capable of, right? So if I know I have this much potential and I'm living here, wouldn't I be like a little bit disappointed with myself? Yes. Now, what happened because back in the 50s, there was no depression. Nobody was talking about depression. People were talking about, how do I get to the next level, right? Today, in our psychiatric community, where the average American has 8 prescriptions sitting in their medicine cabinet. Like, I'm on one drug, I got to take a second drug to handle the third drug because of the blood pressure drug, because of this drug. And dude, I'm stacking out like, why? Because I was depressed? Why am I depressed? Because I don't have his arms? Mm-hmm. I have the potential to have his arms. Maybe not. Okay.
Pretty close,
but it would require me to go to work, right? Or I need to look a different way, or I'm aging, or whatever the deal is, right? Like, so for me, I have always struggled with depression. But it was more because people were telling me I was depressed, when the truth is I was just disappointed, man.
Me too.
I was disappointed with me.
Me too.
You know, my mom would always tell me, my mom was always the first person I would call anytime I scored. And she was my best friend. And she passed when about 9 years ago, when Sabrina was born. 5 days later, Sabrina was born. And every score I had, I was 51 years old, man. Between 25 and 51, every score I had, my mom was the first person I called. Mom, I did this. Every time she had the same response. Son, that's great, but I love you just the way you are. Over and over she told me that. And then one day I'm like, but I don't. Now, I can't really say that. A whole bunch of people are going to say, why don't you love you just the way you are? Something wrong with you, because there's that whole culture out there. This I don't know what the term is, but it's this holistic idea that you should love yourself the way you are. I would tell everybody, dude, if you know that you can do more, do not love who you are. Achieve who you can be, because you can be more. He's done it. I've done it. And I did it by replacing the depression concept, not doing the drugs, by the way. I was put on them like 5 or 6 times. And threw them away and just said, you know what? I'm going to go for my goals. I'm going to go for my potential. If I'm going to screw this up, I'm going to screw it up Grant's way, not their way.
That's so well. The only place where Grant and I are a little bit different on this, because we're saying the exact same thing, we're just using different words, is I love myself, but I don't accept me as I am. Probably, I have very few friends who are like, hey man, that's just the way I am. I'm like, really? You're 50 years old, that's it? And so I think when you hear people say depression, or I think what it really is I just don't accept this version of me. I don't accept that I don't mean to be corny when I say this. I know I've not maxed this out. I know I've not 10x this. And so it is really true. You've seen it in your interviews as well. And I think that if what your desire is balance, is $1 million, is comfort, you're just setting something up, man, that is going to be miserable for you, right? You should always be in this state of flux where, like, man, I know I can get here. I know I can help this many people. I know God gave me this giftedness to make a difference in the world. All of us, when we were little kids, when we were little Scarlett's age, we knew we were supposed to do something special. We knew we were supposed to do something great. Maybe our parents or the world or kids at school or whatever, life starts to happen and we forget. It gets further and further from us. And the most enlightened people that I know, the most successful people that I know, the most fulfilled people that I know are very aware of what their capacity and potential is. And so because of that, there's this tension inside them about getting there all the time.
Right, yeah.
And so that's why I don't want balance. I don't want that. I want that guy. And the closer I get to that guy, I'm going to want that guy, because that dude can help more people.
Then the question is, when's enough enough?
Right, that's the next question.
Everybody asks that. When's enough enough?
Right. Nunca.
I think it's a terrible question.
Never.
Right.
It's
Never.
a guy trying to make sense of where he is.
Right. It's actually offensive. It's people in your life saying, please conform so you make me less comfortable with my miserable existence. When my friends say that to me, hey man, when's enough enough? It's almost criticism of the fact that I'd like to go to another level. You imagine being in a huddle with Tom Brady and the guys in the huddle go, hey man, we've won 11 games. When's enough, Tom?
Yeah, exactly.
Can you imagine saying that to Kobe Bryant or to the leader of the free world, will it be a Barack Obama or a Donald? When's enough? Aren't we good? Are you kidding me? Right? Like, imagine if someone said that to Jesus. Yeah. Hey brother, when's enough? It's the most offensive question you could ask somebody. Any whatever your religion is, right? you imagine asking somebody, when's enough enough? That's an offensive question.
Yeah, it's the same version of my mom saying, hey, you know, I love you just the way you are.
Right. And by the way, my family says that to me too, and they mean that out of love.
Right.
It's a different level of, what it really is that you're at a different level of awareness than what your mother was, who loved you dearly, right?
Yeah.
It's just their way of showing us affection. But oftentimes, that's his mother was an incredible mother, but probably he shouldn't be taking business advice from mom.
Yeah, because
That's
she
another
told me
example.
not to start every business
Right,
that I
right. So
started.
that's not an example of, that doesn't mean they're not wonderful people.
Right.
It means in that area, this is not someone you should be taking counsel from. And that's what I mean by it steals our dreams, it steals our energy, it steals our passion. And it's hardest for those that are listening to this, when the very people sometimes you're doing it for are the ones who are the ones discouraging you from doing it.
Yeah, the most.
But I promise you, when you get to that place, they're the ones that are the most grateful. I promise you there's a day where they're grateful
I
for
always
that.
knew.
Yeah.
You always knew, exactly.
And then there's people watching right now that are asking themselves silently, I wonder if those two guys are actually happy. That's the other version of this. Are they happy though? Are they happy? Like there's this whole thing about success that people label on top of. Are they happy, but they still have problems? Their problem, yeah, dude, I still have problems. It's the same problems everybody has. So does Jay-Z and Beyonce, right? Everybody's got problems. Like, question is, are you going to keep looking for bigger problems to solve rather than little small problems that you have?
No, it makes powerful
You're also
sense.
looking at two dudes, frankly, that are just, we're with you on this journey. We're figuring it out too.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
just
We're
figuring it
both
out.
figuring it out as we go too. And the truth is, I am happy. Especially today, I'm happy. I'm happy with him. I'm happy with you. Are there days where I'm not happy? Absolutely. But I kind of have found this recipe and formula in my life for what I know makes me happy, and I know what fulfills me. And that's a really cool place to be in your life, where you kind of know what makes you happy, and you know what makes you fulfilled, and you're seeking them.
Yeah,
And
you're
so
moving in
that's-
that direction.
That's a great
Yeah.
thing to know. So I feel like I have that.